Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast designed to analyze the games that we love, headlines and music, and the movies we can't forget. I'm your host, Wentz Burns, on my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going, man?
It's going good.
It's going pretty good?
It's going good. Another day, another dollar, man.
Absolutely. Well, we're joined by a special guest, Kevin Garcia, once again. He's been a guest for us for past episodes. Always enjoy having him on, and thank you for being back on, bro.
Of course. Glad to be on here again.
Absolutely. And for this episode, we have a lot of topics to get into, obviously, NBA, NFL, some album reviews. In the second half, we're going to do a review of Killers of the Flower Moon. But to start off with thoughts on the Nuggets win versus the Lakers, Denver won 119-107 in the season opener. Jamal Murray had 21 points. KCP scored 20. And all of the LA starters also scored in double figures. But obviously, the biggest headline was AD going scoreless in the second half. And it's crazy because Denver, even though there were parts where the game was closer in the first half and then LA was going on a run, they still were able to distance themselves. Even Murray had his moments, Aaron Gordon as well. To you, Kevin, like what were your takeaways from this opening night game? I know you're a part of the Lakers fan club, so what did you think?
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, I didn't like it. The very early games, it's really hard to take away a whole bunch all the time. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that since they lost, I'd probably say something different if they had won. But being optimistic, I didn't like, obviously, AD just kind of, just not scoring in the second half. I mean, just point blank. I still think there's a lot that's fine. They're figuring a few things out. I still think Lakers will be solid. The Nuggets a lot of them have been there. And so they have a smart team, smart players. They know how to fit in. They know how to plug and play. Yeah. So I think the Lakers have lost like 7 or 8 season openers in a row now. So wasn't fun to watch. Yeah. I wanted to be able to say something back to the Nuggets fans on Twitter.
Because the whole offseason was literally like AD and LeBron saying, "Hey, that's the game we got circled." The Nuggets have been chirping. They've been saying all this, and it's like, AD, you can't go scoreless if you're saying that's the game you have circled. Like, come on, man, like that's unacceptable.
Nope.
Yeah. To you, Savon, what did you think about this game, and also just how the Nuggets looked in their season opener as defending champs, and also the issues with the Lakers?
It's good to see Jokic is still Jokic, even if he doesn't want to be in the States and play basketball.
He doesn't want to play.
He'd rather be back home doing with the horses. But him having a triple double it's like seeing rain or seeing the sunshine or a sunset or a sunrise. It's just something you expect to happen at this point in time in his career. It's just something you can expect. But what I do love. I love how Jokic is still feeding his team the ball. That's his first MO, and then he creates so many shots for his players. But going back to the Lakers, I think they're trying to figure out rotation. There's a couple videos, especially one video specifically, LeBron James talking to the head coach saying, "Hey, I can play point guard. We can do this and this." He's trying to explain to him like, I'm just sitting around lollygagging. I think once they find a good rotation or a good setup for these guys to flourish, I think the Lakers, it can be the team that goes to the NBA Finals, even go a stretch in the playoffs. But they have to find that niche of rotation. AD not scoring in the second half can't happen again. It cannot happen again. And a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is AD's team," or he has to be. No, it's not AD's team. He has to be the best player on this team. So he has to step up. He has to figure out a way. His jump shot needs to wake up. He used to be a 3-point shooter when he was with the Pelicans.
The Pelicans, yeah.
Yeah, he had that bag. It doesn't seem like the bag is current or what was going on, but he has to wake up. He has to be, we expect him to be like Jokic. We expect him to make his team better and assist. We expect him to knock down shots and create his own shot because he has the contract. He's the guy, LeBron James in his later years. So once they figure out a good rotation, I think that will help. But AD has to play better. He has to play all 4 quarters for them to be successful.
For the Lakers, Kevin, do you think Austin Reeves has to be like that third best player for this team? Because he really is, like, he's the big shot maker. He's going to get buckets. Like, do you feel as though if Austin Reeves is the third best, they can really be at their peak?
Oh, I absolutely do. I mean, because for most teams, there's not like that used to be for like last like what 15 years or so. It's like
Yeah.
who's the third best player, and is our third better than your third? And now it's like, is your third through seven better than their third through seven or whatever it is, you know? And like, and so I mean, Austin Reeves last year in his very first like playoffs, he put up 17, 5, and 4, which is like very fine for a player to be not LeBron, to be not AD.
Yeah.
And so for him to be able to do that, and you could see even in there were certain series where he looked like he started to get a little tired. Like so there was some stuff where it was like, okay, it's hitting a certain peak, and he'll learn from that more and more.
Mhm.
I think he can because it's not like I'm expecting him to like dominate and school put up 45. I'm expecting him to make some smart shots. He's good at getting some free throws.
Yeah.
Yes.
He passes well. He tries on defense. Like he's smart at least. You know what I mean? He's not going to be caught like his guy is just cutting back door. He's not a lockdown guy by any stretch,
Team
but he's at
defender.
least around. Yeah, which is very underrated. You know, like because you'll see somebody kind of athletic stay in front of somebody for 2 plays, and you're like, oh man, this is pretty good. But then the rest of the game, they're not even watching their dude who just cuts for a three or cuts for a
Right.
dunk or
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think if he's that, I think he needs to be able to also do that now with pressure versus it being an unexpected thing.
Right.
Like, I joke, like, man, it's been like 10 years ago now when I lived in Atlanta. I'm not great at basketball, but if I'm the fifth best player on my team, I'm gonna beat their fifth best player, like because there was like no expectation. They
Yeah.
put someone slower on me,
It's logical.
yeah, and I was like, oh, I'll get past that dude. But
Mhm.
then once I start scoring, because the really good dudes assisted me, and they put the good guy on me, then I'm like, oh,
Almost a wrap.
that's not me. Yeah, and so we can't have Austin Reeves doing that. We have to have Austin Reeves, even with pressure, being able to make plays and facilitating, scoring, just keeping the offense moving a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And now getting to the Suns win versus the Warriors. Phoenix won 108 to 104 at Golden State, and Devin Booker scored the go-ahead layup with 4:51 remaining, followed by a three-pointer on the way to 32 points. And obviously, this being the first game with Chris Paul, and then the season with Golden State, that was going to be the focus of it. And Steph Curry's foul trouble was like one of the biggest like points of the game because that was a major issue. Chris Paul facilitated well, but I think Kuminga really has to be better for Golden State if they're really going to get to that next level. And then Booker, I think he's going to have an MVP caliber season all the way throughout. To you, Kevin, what were some of your takeaways of this game and what stood out to you?
It was kind of a hard game to evaluate. Like really, like you said, there's
Draymond's
fouls
out,
here,
Bradley Beal's out.
Draymond's out, Beal's out. Like the one thing that stood out the most that was like small was like it really hit me like, oh, Chris Paul is going to be the one leading their like backups. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be Chris Paul who's like, can't put in up 35 minutes a game anymore, but like if he's going against other people's backups and
Mhm.
can like it's at least not going to be leaking whenever he's controlling the game. You know what I mean? Like he's going to get everyone and put them in position. To be honest, I'm not a big all of the whole young movement of the Warriors that they did while they're trying to do it at the same time. I had never been really thinking that that was going to work out. So I'm not,
Yeah.
I see Kuminga doing well sometimes, don't have super high expectations. But yeah, overall from the game, it's a little hard just because so many people were out or foul trouble,
Yeah.
things like that going on.
The game's going to look a lot differently the second time they play because most of those guys are going to be back, and we can get a better assessment of it.
Maybe.
Well,
We'll
honestly,
see.
Booker and Bill aren't playing tonight against the Lakers, so it's just like you never know who's
Yeah.
gonna show up. To you,
Yeah.
Savon, what were some of your thoughts on this game? And obviously, like Kevin was saying, the Golden State is trying to move younger, but some of those guys haven't been as consistent for them starting off.
Well, you said it the first time, Kuminga. I think him coming off the bench was a great move, but I think he has to get in that groove. First game of the season, preseason, and really see what he can become. But I think coming off the bench and having 12.6 rebounds and assists in 20 minutes, I think that's decent enough for the first game of the season. I think once Klay Thompson gets working, like you said, the old man with the gray beard that's not not playing in Draymond Green. There's a lot of pieces still not playing yet, but I do think this team can be a good team. And I know that was weird
That's
to
your
say.
finals
It
pick,
was so
right? That's your
simplistic.
finals pick, right?
No, no. It's still the
What's your
Lakers.
finals? Oh, the Lakers. Okay, that's right.
Lakers and the Bucks is who I have.
I got Denver Celtics.
You always have Denver. Jamal Murray and Jokic the best too. Oh my
Hey,
gosh.
I was up there too. I remember we talked about these
Yes,
duos last
that's
time.
why I
Yes, he
said
was
it.
there
That's
too.
why
He was there
exactly why I
too.
said it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Jamal Murray.
Hey,
But,
playoff Murray is different
yeah,
Different.
yeah, when he's
with
healthy.
Jokic.
Oh.
Yeah,
When he's
and
healthy.
with Jokic.
Those knees. I hope he got them knees in the
Ice guy.
freezer. Get it ready. But ice. But no, I do think the Warriors can be really good. Kaminga coming off the bench. I think Chris Paul is starting going to find his role. I think he's just being, playing back, let those guys do it. I'm just going to facilitate. But I think he's going to start knocking down shots. They're going to play his fast ball in transition, and nobody's going to keep up with them. This is the first game, so I'm not worried. And for Booker at 32 points, he came in questionable. It's so frustrating to see Booker do this in the regular season, but he doesn't show up in the playoffs. It's always like this. Hey, buddy, what you're gonna show up? I digress.
I like the pieces that they have more this year. Nurkic and Nkogi. I feel as though this year is going to be a better year for Phoenix, honestly. And
We'll
and
see.
I
hate
really
to-
the size matters. Nurkic he can be that stalwart for them. So I think that can be. And Nkogi was knocking down big shots. Like they need surrounding pieces, and I feel like that's what Phoenix did this offseason.
I think Bradley Beal is going to be this deciding factor, especially in the playoffs. His first time being in the playoffs, he's going to go nuts. When they make it to the playoffs, he's going to be
crazy.
out of his mind.
Yeah.
He has to.
That's why I think that's a dangerous, really dangerous team.
Yeah, but he has to get healthy. He has to be healthy for full season because he's been battling injuries since the Wizards. So him coming, I thought he was going to be okay, but obviously he's out. But if he's healthy, he's going to go. But he's going to go crazy.
Do you guys have any thoughts on the Harden Philly? When is Harden? What's Harden gonna do? When's he gonna? He wanted to show up there like, hey, just stay home.
What's the point?
What is the point?
I don't know.
Walk away. Walk away from basketball.
I just don't get it. He's just gonna keep meandering. The Clippers literally said, we're keeping Terrance Mann. We're not giving him up for James Harden. Like they're literally at that point, like we're not giving him up for James Harden. They're just nobody's really buying it.
Because he's not worth it anymore. Understand what you're going through with the Philly and all this stuff is warranted, whatever. But you're not worth the headache. If you were, Houston Rockets, James Harden, we'll put up with the headache and we'll give the pieces away. But you're not worth it right now. You're on a steady decline.
Yeah,
I think if Russell Westbrook plays like how he has been playing, I think that's also what's kind of causing the hesitate. He didn't shoot 25 shots yesterday, and then to end the playoffs, he played very solid, more efficient. And so if he's doing that and scoring like 13 to 15 points and getting like 11 assists, like that's not the issue. They just need to get Paul George and Kawhi to be healthy once in their lifetimes for that awful organization that tried to talk about the Lake. Never mind. But yeah. So
they were spicy. They were spicy that first year when they got Kawhi and Paul George. Like we're going all the way, and didn't even get past Denver.
Like, spotlights over streetlights, or whatever they said. Like streetlights over city. I don't remember whatever that corny stuff was. They didn't even play.
and another thing with last night, Victor Wembanyama's debut. Obviously, that was going to be a big thing highlighted. He had 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Kevin, to you, what were your initial thoughts on how he looked, first game? Obviously, that was going to be a big spotlight on him. And obviously, I feel as though the defensive upside for him is going to be there more than offensively. I think he's going to grow more offensively and defensively. He can kind of be that instant game changer. What do you kind of think about Wembanyama so far?
Well, if those other players A, players B, whatever their names are on the Spurs, will give him the ball more. Like, there's times where Kyrie was guarding him in the post. And I'm like, what are y'all? And then I saw dude just pull up and take a three. And I'm saying player A, player B. I don't even remember their names. Like they remind me of the players that were like Michael Jordan on like NBA 2K, like 2000 or whatever, and they couldn't put Jordan. They put like a random person.
Yeah.
That's who wasn't passing it to Wemby. Like there was little dudes like in the post a couple of times, and then towards the end of the game, I mean, I think he's gonna do solid, but I definitely that was weird to me a little bit. There's only one game, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, for sure, the defense is going to translate really well to some degree. The only thing is like obviously his just natural blocking will be there, but I feel like there's going to be one play this year. I heard someone else say it on a podcast, but he's going to get turned around like Gobert at least once this year. He's going to get
Oh
caught on the
yeah,
perimeter with
he
Yeah.
is.
like a
He is.
Kyrie or somebody.
Yeah, it's gonna
Mhm.
happen. It's definitely gonna happen.
I
Um,
don't think it'll be that bad. He's a little smoother than Gobert, but he's more gangly, so he's going to be like rolling out like a noodle getting crossed or something.
Like a
Like,
noodle.
yeah, maybe it'll be Mr. Penguin himself. If you saw what's his name, Andre Drummond, he
oh my
crossed
goodness,
Chet
bro.
Holmgren over.
Oh man, that was wild. Oh my
It's the most
goodness,
embarrassing
that
crossover
is
ever.
the
But
ever of all time. Goes in the Hall of Fame, the
yeah,
pantheon.
but yeah, I think Wemby will do good. I think he'll start scoring more. Maybe he also, the more he plays and does it, he'll probably just start to demand it more a little bit too.
Yeah,
But yeah.
definitely. To you, Savon, what are your kind of expectations for Wembanyama, and also just how he looked in his debut?
I think it's going to be similar to Luka Doncic, like when he first got into the league, the trust factor with his teammates, and
Yeah,
then I think probably like the end of the first year, early second year, they start like, okay, Luka's it, and I think there's some remnants of them knowing that Wemby is going to be eventually going to be the guy, but obviously you want to get your shots off too, like, okay, I'm tired of hearing him, I'm tired of hearing about him, I can shoot too,
I guess
and
you too.
so I think it's that mindset, but eventually going to realize that he's the guy. This
Oh
is
yeah,
his team, and he was drafted first round for a reason.
the chosen
And I'm
one. He's Neo.
glad. Yeah, exactly. He's the chosen one. And I'm glad Kevin brought up Rudy Gobert because that's what he reminds me of. And I think his defense is going to be more stellar than his offense. Obviously, we can know he can create his own shot. He can do all these things, facilitate. But I think his defensive presence is going to help them win at least 40 games because of his defense. And I
Okay.
think it's that because Rudy
Yes.
Gobert with the
All right.
Jazz was just that. They were decent because of his defense. It's going to be difficult because you're going to have to be really creative. And we've seen that throughout the preseason. You have to be creative against Wemby because the orange lift is crazy. He's blocking Klay Thompson's shot. He's blocking Damian Lillard's shot.
Mm-hmm.
He's blocking popcorn in the stands. Like he's doing everything possible. So I think his defense is going to be big for them. And that can translate into them, like Kevin said, I believe winning 40 games at least if he
And
stays healthy.
And I love that. And to be able to block a Clay or Steph shot, you know how quick they get off threes. Like that just doesn't happen a lot. That is just that preseason Golden State game that really showed me a lot. But Savon, the Bulls they held a only players meeting after their first loss. That is the wildest headline of all time. A players only meeting after the first loss. It's already panic in Chicago. It's already panic, guys. They're already panicking. I don't even have any explanation for that.
They're tired of losing. I understand it. They're trying to lose it.
Billy
Well,
Donovan.
they're used to
Billy
it.
Donovan was like, "Hey, can I come in?" They're like, no.
Nah, bro.
Only
Players only
players
mean
only.
it after the first game of the season. Fed up.
Fed
What
up.
Drake said?
I'm
I'm
upset.
upset. That's insane.
And now get into the NFL with the Vikings close win versus the 49ers. Minnesota won 22-17 this past Monday night, and Kirk Cousins connected with Addison for two first half scores. And the most important factor of the game was obviously Cameron Bynum intercepting Brock Purdy twice. And It's interesting because like we were mentioning last week about Purdy being a system quarterback possibly. I did want to see Purdy close that game out and finish it and just show like, hey, I can be that guy. But there's still some hesitation with him at QB. I feel as though that's a really good team, but you are going to have some questions about them. To you, Kevin, what were some of your takeaways and just like initial thoughts for it?
Yeah, man, it's hard because like when I watched that Cowboys game, he was making some like great throws.
Yes.
Like there weren't even just the wide open ones. He was making some really good ones, and I was like, man, maybe Purdy's like a little bit better than I'm thinking. Maybe he's, and I'm not saying just because of a couple games he might not be, but like it didn't look great. like
Yeah.
they put him in that position where like you have to play or you have to make plays, and we're expecting you, and then can you still do it? And it just didn't work out a little bit. But like it was just hard because I mean the 49ers like 2 weeks ago I was like, man, I don't know who can
Who
beat
can
this
stop
team.
them?
Like I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, and I know any given Sunday the NFL is crazy. The worst team can beat the best team just
Yeah.
on a day. I understand that for sure, but um yeah, it was just confusing. It's not like the Vikings have been killing it either. Like, so it was just really like obviously the Vikings have talent and everything, but like, yeah, they're definitely going to need because man, the rest of that team is almost perfect, bro.
But
Even when I'm playing Madden, if someone picks the 49ers, I'm like,
yeah,
man, like I don't want to
why?
play no more.
Why?
Like,
You want to give up?
let me back out.
Yeah,
Someone get the
literally.
Panthers, please.
um, and that's the puzzling thing to me, Savon, because like it really was one of those games where Minnesota hasn't been that good. Obviously, any given Sunday or any Monday night, anything can happen. But what did you think about that loss for San Francisco? They're obviously going to be fine, but what were some of your takeaways from that loss?
It started off early. There was a couple turnovers early. And we talked about this last week of Purdy being a system quarterback. And I said he's absolutely a system quarterback because one, you have weapons on each point, X, Y, Z. You have
Yeah,
weapon at tight end. You have a weapon, two weapons in the backfield. Your offensive line is one of the probably top five best in the NFL. So you don't have to do much. You game manage, you take what the defense gives you, you don't make mistakes, and you're the starting quarterback. That's
except
what the team is built off of, right? And I do believe if Mac Jones was in this system, he would do possibly even better than Purdy did. So, but I do think he's a system quarterback, but it started early. And then once you get down, you throw two interceptions. This is what great quarterbacks or elite quarterbacks, as people have been calling Purdy, and I love Shannon Sharp for saying this. If Purdy is an elite quarterback, we have to come up with a different name for Patrick Mahomes. And I think that is
yeah,
spot on.
that
If
is.
he's an elite quarterback, Patrick Mahomes is something else. He's an alien or something. But it reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo because I think Jimmy is a system quarterback as well. It reminded me of him, playoff, Super Bowl. They had the opportunity to beat and win a Super Bowl, and he didn't step up to the plate. And I
Yeah,
think that's what happens when system quarterbacks get revealed. And okay, he's not elite. He's just another quarterback in a great system that they built over the past couple of years. But the Vikings look good. Kirk Cousins, statistically, he's the best quarterback in the league. And I hate to say that because I'm so high of disapproval for Kirk Cousins. I think he's
I
not
was
a
about to
really good
say. I know
quarterback.
that statement hurted you. I know that statement hurted you to
Hurt,
So
even say
bro.
that.
He's so
I feel
inconsistent.
like, yeah, I feel like he's either the greatest all-time system quarterback or like the worst ever good quarterback. Like,
Yes, that's what
Literally,
it is.
literally.
If he
he's just in
was,
that weird
yeah,
space.
he's in a
Yeah,
weird space. If he was consistent, then I'll have the utmost regard for Kirk Cousins, even if he's a Vikings quarterback. And I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. Even if he's a Vikings quarterback, whatever. But he looked good. He looked okay. And then Purdy is just not a elite quarterback, and it was shown in this game.
yeah. And now getting to the Eagles' home win versus Miami, Philadelphia won 31-17. Jalen Hurts threw for 279 yards, threw a TD, and ran for one. This was also AJ Brown's fifth straight game of 125 plus yards. And it's interesting getting that San Francisco loss, and then the night before Philadelphia. There's been questions about them, but when you really look at it, at the end of the day, they're still that team. They're still that team that you're going to have to face, going to have to go through. And I feel like that was a reminder game for them against the Dolphins. Kevin, how did you feel about that win for Philly, and also what Miami couldn't do?
Man, Philly's almost perfect. I mean, they're just doing basically what they did last year when everyone, I mean, including myself, I was almost kind of like, even last year, I thought they were going to be one of those, maybe those teams that go like 15-1 and 14-2 and then lose. Like, like how the Titans went a couple of
Yeah,
times,
Yeah.
or just Green Bay did once one year. Um, and I'm a Green Bay fan too. So like, but like,
Yeah.
there's those random teams where you see them, or in basketball, the Hawks one year, they won like 63
oh yeah,
games
60
Yeah.
and all
plus.
five were in the, but when you watch them, you're like,
They were losing
with
five. They were
the,
losing five to Cleveland.
yeah, to
Yeah,
LeBron,
they did.
and I think, man, I feel like that Philly team is like great to such a degree right now that it's like kind of almost being overlooked because it's just like a machine.
Yeah,
Like they're just kind of like going through. I mean, the line's great, the quarterback's great, the receiving's great. They can run the ball, they can push the quarterback forward. The defense is tight. Like it's 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 very hard because even me, Jalen Hurts, I was still like, man, I don't know how much but man, the Super Bowl, how he played, I was like, man, yeah, he can when it comes to like him having to make plays and everything, he can, and
yeah.
he has, and so I don't know. As much as I said about what I thought the 49ers were, the Phillies been kind of like that for like since last year.
Yeah.
So, and they just prove it obviously against a really good team in Miami, a team that's been rolling and scoring and
Yeah.
doing all kinds of stuff. So, yeah.
Definitely. To you, Savon, how did you feel about just how efficient Philly was? Because like we said, they looked kind of inconsistent at times in the early part, even when they were undefeated. But
Yeah.
they show you when they play against an elite team, they can turn on at any point, and that whole
Yeah.
offensive system can really do wonders.
Couple takeaways. Jalen Hurts was so poised. He was under duress for a lot of those throws. He's strong on the run. I mean that shot to Brown. He had a defensive tackle in his face, a linebacker blitzing, running back did pick him up. He got smacked, delivered a shot between two defenders. Man, that takes ultimate poise. And then I love how they plan for this fast 4-by-1 type of offense. Monstart was non-existent. Uh, it's just Jalen Wald, all these guys really didn't have a great game. They game
Mm-hmm.
playing so well. And I said this to a friend of mine. I said that the defense is going to get to Tua. You can't, if you stop the running game, which they did, they're going to start pressuring Tua, and Tua's not going to make those throws like he does when he has a clean pocket. And he's not an elusive runner. He's not going to extend the play all the time. He's a pocket passer. And once they get there with that young core in the defensive line, they're going to start pressuring him. He's going to start missing throws, and all the secondary you have to do is hold on for dear life. So that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. They were able to get off the field on third downs. They were able to get pressure, play behind the sticks with the against the Miami Dolphins. It's a lot of things that went well for the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts showed that he can be a leader on Sundays, on Mondays, on Thursdays. He can be a leader of an NFL team, and he showed that today. And then I'm glad him
Hmm.
and Brown are on the same page now.
Yes, I like to see that. Yeah, really, I
Hey,
really like.
did y'all see the sideline mic uh of Jalen Hurts during the
Yeah,
game?
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
Where
yeah,
yeah.
somebody
yeah.
tweeted, they were like, "Man, that dude be code switching at these press conferences because
He
of
really does.
how he was
He's the
talking to
master
AJ
of
Brown
that.
during the
He's the
Yeah,
master of
yeah.
that. Goodness, man.
game."
And now get into thoughts on the Patriots Buffalo game. The Patriots won 29-25 off of Mac Jones' late touchdown. Bill Belichick is now the third coach with 300 wins. And one of the biggest issues for the Bills in this game was them struggling on third down and scoring touchdowns on only 2 of their 4 red zone opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
We've mentioned this so many times, Savon, about how the Bills are just one of the most frustrating teams because we
Yeah.
know the potential, we know the upside, but they don't bring it every week. And Josh Allen is that roller coaster quarterback. To you, Kevin, what did you think about this loss for them, and also just the concern for them going forward as one of the supposedly top teams in the AFC?
Bro, the same exact thing. Like it's very frustrating because, and I find it just particularly frustrating because I used to be really defensive sometimes with Josh Allen because I early on I was like, man, he's gonna be really good, and he was playing. I mean, he's still gonna finish great and have a good year and all that, right? But it's just like, and he's above a lot of other quarterbacks who are inconsistent to a degree, and he's shown in games he's dueled with Patrick Mahomes, and like they went back and forth, all
Yeah.
that. But like with all that being said, man, there's times where I'm like, man, maybe some stuff's blinding me because of my defense of him, because like I'm just seeing, I'm like the things are happening that people have been critiquing about. So like,
Yeah,
what can I say? Like I don't get what happens whenever you have a talent level the last couple of years sometimes against certain teams and then come out and just like have a complete dud.
yeah,
I don't get it. And I used to, because here in Dallas there's a lot of people who've critiqued him because for some reason people like compare and contrast him with Dak a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not like as in how good they are, but in regards to the type of criticisms.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Yeah.
so I hate Cowboys fans, even though or not Cowboys fans, but like the Cowboys. And so I hear it, and I'm always like, oh, dude, Josh Allen's clearly better than Dak, which I still agree with. But I was like, man, maybe he should be getting more critique the way some quarterbacks do, because he kind of does duck and dodge it a little bit to the level of like how some quarterbacks of that level who get that kind of praise get. And so I
yeah.
don't know, man. That's a frustrating. I would be very frustrated following them if I was like a super fan of them.
Definitely. To you, Savon, how did you kind of think? What did you kind of think about this loss for Buffalo? And also, like Kevin was saying, like it's that constant frustration of they should be better. They
Yeah.
should be in that top tier, but they're just
Excuse me.
not reaching that level.
But just go back to the basics. And we see like when he first got into the league, we were so in awe because he was jumping over people, he was extending plays, he was making the right reads, he was making the right throws. And this is a guy from Wyoming that we that nobody heard of until he got drafted by the Bills. And we're like, okay, well, what are they doing? Why did the Bills draft a guy from Wyoming? Nothing's in Wyoming, but just land. It's like I didn't even know they had a football team. So, but just go back to the basics. What you guys were good at. The defense is still, I think, top 5, top 10 defense in the league. But you have to go back to the basics. The running game has to work for them. That gives him not to throw 45 times a game, get the ball out of his hands and make it easier for him. You have to get the running game started. I think that's what helped him his first 2 years. And then he can make those throws. He can make those one-on-one reads on the outside. Now the safety is not, and I don't have to run too deep because the running game is not working. I can throw different packages at him, and not third down and not conversion on third down is a big one. And being one of the worst teams in the NFL in the red zone has to change. So you have to get back to the basics. Yeah. Have to get back to the basics. Run the ball. Make it easier on Allen. Don't let him play hero ball. There's a lot of hero ball going on, and Jordan Love is one of them. I'm tired of it. I'm so tired. I'm tired.
Just speak on your Packers frustration, man. It's open space. It's open space.
He tricked her. He started to trick me.
He did.
Because I thought the first
He's a trickster. He's a trickster.
I was like, okay, Jordan, you have to do much. But I don't want to talk about them because it's gonna make me mad. But Allen plays hero ball. He tries to force things. I don't know what's going on, but they just need to get back to the basics. Start with the running game, open up the pass a little bit, lean on that offensive line. I think just do that, and then we'll see what they're doing. I do think they're still one of the best teams in the AFC, but right now they need to get back to the basics.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I know this might be too early, but I don't think it's crazy to say that we might see a Chiefs-Eagles. There's a possibility we might see a Chiefs-Eagles rematch. It honestly might. I'm looking at those two, and I'm like, these are the two best teams. I think these are the two best teams.
I think 49ers is going to be in there.
Let me sneak in my sneaky pick. This is my other 1% fandom. 99% of my fandom is Green Bay. Like all of them. My other 1% has always been the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh,
and so
yes.
The Ravens
Baltimore,
are playing
Baltimore.
very well.
Yes.
They're people keep, Lamar threw for they were making fun of him not throwing, and they beat a team in Detroit who's been playing very well.
Yeah.
And Baltimore's always just had that kind of they make those runs, even against the Patriots at times, even against so that's kind of like my sneaky team over there. But I wouldn't bet it because I wouldn't bet against Patrick Mahomes probably for the next 10 years. But
for sure.
Smart man.
Yeah.
He's the new Brady. Don't bet against Brady, they say.
Damn. Literally. That's not a guy you want to bet against, for sure.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way in that Atlanta game. I always bring that up.
28.
All that money I lost.
You're still tight.
I turned the game off at halftime.
Oh my goodness. And I'll get into our first album review with Sampha's Lahai. In his new album, which was his first since 2017. Really contained ruminations, manic thoughts, and existential questions across a myriad of sounds, which is very reflective. Savon, we've talked about Sampha many times, how great he is on features, how he can flow well with songs. I really like this project. I thought it was a good, concise body of work, a good run through. I thought it had a lot of high moments through it. You, Kevin, what did you kind of think about this project and just your overall feel of it?
Man, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it to the degree that I feel like the more I listen to it, it could very well be one that I wind up really, really liking later. Almost all the albums I really wind up liking, at the beginning, I'm like, man, I like them at about a 7 or something. And then I just keep listening and it grows. Because a lot of times the ones I really like at first, sometimes it almost kind of wears out a little bit. I really enjoyed it. I mean, he sound, emotional music. He has an emotional sound, but he also sounds a little bit like he's it's there, but it also sounds like he's getting some help now a little bit. He knows some things that he should be doing to help out a little bit. And
on therapy.
He's learning some stuff. Yeah, I'm in therapy a little bit. I listened to Kendrick's album, and so I'm gonna jump in here and
that's good because he's definitely on
very good. Yes,
that's good.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so I enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable listen, and so I'm still early on with it and everything, but it was really enjoyable.
Definitely. To you, Savon, how did you feel about this project? Because I really feel as though it's one that grows on you so much, as Kevin was mentioning. and the more you just sit with it, it just really sounds like beautiful music, and just it really was constructed well.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one. I'm glad to see that he's still growing in music because he's took a hiatus for a
A
while
long hiatus.
since Process. I think this doesn't even touch Process. Like
That's a
Process is
different
still
level.
his
Yeah, it's a
yeah
different level.
his that album straight through. This one had its high moments and it had a lot of plug in songs,
Yeah,
a lot of songs that he was
it's a
just
couple
probably
skips.
it was a couple skips stockpiling. He was like, I'm just gonna put this on there. But for the most part, I love the versatility. I love the way he used different sounds like he always does. Like he loves to harmonize. He loves to make. It was one song he had some undertones I thought was really dope. But for the most part, yeah, this is a solid album. I do think he progressed as an artist, but I think Process is still one of his best solid projects. Obviously, he doesn't release music often, but I do think this is a step in the right direction for him to be back.
Yeah, and I feel like that's actually like an accomplishment, even though it may not be superior to that album. When an artist can evolve, like Sampha,
Yeah,
that your album may not be as good, but it's a good album. Like Kevin, like how do you think his future music will sound? Like, do you think he should still stay in this lane, or like you said, maybe like some of the maturity and reflection on where he's been at and how he's kind of learned from it?
I mean, I think his sound lends itself to, even as he matures and everything, the sound can still be very similar.
Yeah,
Um, I would be interested in hearing him um, in a, like, I don't know if you would do, whether it's a whole album or a few things or an EP that was of a whole different kind of tone or non-somberish sounding type thing.
yeah,
But I like that sound from
I
him
liked it.
too.
Yeah,
So it's like if I was wanting, Martin Scorsese to make like a Wes Anderson movie, it's like, like that's not what you go to
not your
him
bag.
for, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, so but I would still be interested because his voice is good. Like I like hearing his voice. So like I was like, I'm just curious what it might sound like. And who knows, maybe someone has one of those AI TikTok sounds where he's singing like Michael Jackson songs and it don't sound right. But
yeah.
like I would be curious. But I think his sound, his real musical with what he picks for his music, it lends itself to just having good quality music for whatever route he decides to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And now getting to our next review with Alex Isley and Terrance Martin's "I Left My Heart in Ladera." In this new P, included "Paradise," a cover of Sade's 1988 classic. They both mentioned how they wanted to, push themselves musically, and this was another type of project I felt as though was elegant, had neo soul. Alex Isley has become like one of my favorite just artists to go to in R&B. In that space, I feel as though she has a very unique voice. To you, Kevin, how did you feel about this EP overall, and did you think it was a good collab?
Oh, I really enjoyed this one. This isn't one that I really had like on my radar,
Yeah,
to be honest. Like I'd listened to a little bit of Alex Isley before, but it was just like, oh, I heard a couple songs in a playlist I'm listening to or whatever. I wasn't really fully there. But like when I first pushed play on this and you just hear like that bass line come,
yes,
I'm like a sucker for like good bass lines. And so like when that bass line hit, it just had a really good like, this is like it feels good, as contrasted sometimes with some of Sampha's music where I'm like in my
gloomy.
just like, oh man,
Yeah, it's gloomy.
feeling my emotions, which is good. But like this one, it just had a good feel. Like I was like, man, I could see like this is like me and my wife getting dressed up to go out on a date, like a date type thing, and like this kind of music. It just felt really good. Like I said, it's very similar. It's only been out really short. I see
Mhm.
it more as something I'd love to just play around and out loud more than I'm just sitting by myself only. But although even though I did it, it just had like good feel to it. It like kind of had like a subtle uplift your mood type feel.
Yeah,
Again, that goes with like a lot of the bass line and the feel of the music, which he does really well on several projects before even partnering with Alex Isley on this. And so like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a surprise. I didn't have any expectation because I was like not looking for it. So when I listened, I was like, oh, I really enjoyed this.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's perfect outside music. I can just see this playing at so many different functions, and it works well. To you, Savon, how did you feel about this collab? And it really was a groovy, just feel good type of music.
Yeah, I liked it. But I think in some point, well, let's do this. Concise, 9 songs, kudos. I do think it got redundant in the middle. A couple songs started sounding the same in production, but I think that comes with neo soul because
Yeah,
it's a specific type of sound. It's so hard to
Hmm.
get out of that. So that's why I didn't like. That's just me nitpicking. But yo,
Yeah.
it was dope. It was listenable. You don't skip any songs. I think the collab was really great. Yeah, this is a song like you said, date night. staying in for just sipping on some cocoa or something. Real, yeah, whatever. But yeah, this was a this
Wait,
was
you can't hold on. You can't do cocoa and then.
Oh no! Come on, brother.
I don't know.
Oh
I don't know what
man.
that means
Oh
outside of
man.
Florida. Like,
No, I touch my nose a lot, man.
he's
I'm
he's
part
in love with the
Italian.
cocoa.
That's good, but I'm not though. I'm not living
Okay.
with that type of cocoa.
Yo.
Black women, baby, I love y'all.
Damn.
Black and the best, sweetie juice, baby. Cocoa Brown, baby.
Go, Brown.
Cocoa Brown, baby.
Oh man.
See, I touch my nose a lot, man. I'm Italian, brother.
Yeah, he's gonna keep thinking about that the rest of the time he does that.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, why did you say cocoa?
Oh man. And now get into our next review with Earl Sweatshirt and the Alchemist Voir. For this project, this was obviously an elite rapper producer combo. We always have loved the Alchemist production. He's so consistent with it. Even the Larry June project he had earlier in the year, and I really feel as though this one had laser crafted beats, and it really highlighted both of the artists and producers' strength. So you, Kevin, how did you feel about this project and the combination of the two?
So an analogy just came in my head. Like, I don't know, did y'all ever grow up like as picky eaters? Like,
I was a picky eater.
I used to be pretty picky. And so as I got older, there's a lot of things that I did start to like that I didn't used to like, right?
Picky.
Hey, look, I ate a lot of the particular thing that I wanted though. But then as I got older, there's times where I'd be like, hey, I used to not like this. Let me try it again, and I like it. I do the same with music, movies, a lot of stuff. I've wanted to like Earl Sweatshirt for a long time. I've wanted to.
Can't do it.
I was like, if anything's gonna make me finally do it, it's gonna be an Alchemist produced album. And so I was excited. I even put on my good headphones to listen to. I got in there and I don't like it. So I just it just doesn't click for me. I liked him. I like the Vince Staples ones mostly because I like Vince Staples.
Yeah.
I almost would have been like, man, if this was like a little 6 or 7 track of him and Vince,
that would have been dope.
Contrasts really well.
Yeah.
Although there might be some songs I skipped the Earl part, like how I do with the Future and Drake tape a little bit with some of Future's parts, but like I still would have just a couple parts.
Yeah, keep going.
Listen, but like so there's that style is just not something I've ever been able to get into with Earl. There's a couple other rappers that I've like, guys, it's just not for me. Like I'm not saying it's trash, I'm not saying it's bad. And I felt a little sadder because these beats sound incredible. Like I just want to get the instrumentals now from this album. These beats sound amazing. So I was that's the only part I was disappointed in. Besides still just not liking Earl that much. So that is not for me.
Were you a fan of the West Side Gun album?
Yes.
Thank you. I was on a limb last week. I was the only one who was like, that is an amazing album. I feel as though
I don't know if I think it's amazing, but I like it.
Yeah.
Like I like it. Like listen, they put out 50 albums a year. Yeah. So like I'm always like it's gonna be pretty good. Like I'm cool with if all of them are pretty good. Yeah. and I like it. So
for sure. So you say about that look. I know
he said it all.
Thumbs down. Go ahead.
He said it all. And I mean, I like particularly Earl Sweatshirt, some of his songs, but this he didn't deliver. I think Vince Staples should have had this. And Vince Staples I'm starting to like Vince Staples more and more. And his rapping ability, his ability to adapt to any beat. Earl Sweatshirt is the same throughout. It's like Larry June to a certain extent. I like some of Larry June's tracks, but it gets like, bro, switch it up. Say something else. Like scream, dude. Yeah, like do something, bro. But Alchemist Beats, man, top 5 producer. He came and shut things down. But Earl Sweatshirt should have wore a t-shirt.
Punchlines.
They put him in a Gildan.
Yes, bro.
And before we move on, to you, Kevin, have like, getting to 2 months left in the year, a lot of people are crafting kind of like their favorite albums of the year, the ones that are kind of their standouts. Me and Savon, I mentioned like how Killer Mike's album is one that really like a lot. Maida, Cleo Soul, a lot of artists up there that have come like later in the year that have picked it up. To you, have you kind of have like any defining favorite albums of the year?
Bro, what's so weird about this year is like I've listened to more non-rap than I've ever listened to in my life. And it's not like just a I'm older thing. It's literally just because there hasn't been that many people putting a lot out. But so I mean, Cleo Soul like is gonna be by far my most listened to music this year. Because then she did the LeBron thing, like here, have another one. Like she
Yeah,
just threw out another album too right afterwards. And so that has been great. What's funny, so my whole life I've always abhorred, disliked, hated country music, but I found one artist I do like. And his name's Tyler Childers or Childers. I don't know how to say it fully. And just randomly, I had just started, and he sounds like one of these like uh, dudes in Kentucky with overalls and no shoes on, with like, some straw coming out of his mouth. But then, so I was liking it, and I was like, let me check though, because I know how country, let me see what his other things he said and talked about before. But
interesting.
he actually had a whole album come out in 2020
Excuse me.
where the final song literally was about him talking about to other country people like, what if these police came up and started rounding up your kids and shot someone? Would y'all take that? And would y'all be okay? The literally whole album goes towards that, and he's like a really big country artist that way. And he actually had a whole album come out right after the summer of 2020, kind of talking about those things. And anyways, he had an album come out this year that I thought was really enjoyable. It was real fun. That sounded good. Other than those, I'm trying to think. Cleo, so that I'm probably missing some. I'm Killer Mike. Killer Mike was also someone before I wanted to like, but didn't like, just couldn't quite get into him all the way. And I really liked his album this year. I probably need to go back and listen to it a little bit more because I listened to it when it came out, and then I kind of haven't since. But I did enjoy it. I like West Side Guns, but I don't know if I like it as much as you, but I did like it. And half of Drake's album was cool.
It was a fire album. It was a fire album. Savon wants to keep hating it. He did his thing again. He did his thing again. 15 years of dominance. 15 years of dominance, man. He did his thing again. Did his thing.
Half
Savon,
of it was cool.
yeah, for sure.
Half of it was cool.
For Savon, it was less than that. Savon, he wants him to take a year. He wants him to take a year break. He said, "Hiatus, do it, go away."
Yeah,
Go
but
away. Go away.
then he gonna be 40 years old still talking.
Talking about the same things.
Oh
I'm
man,
tired already.
the pushback finally hit.
Which Cleo Soul album did you like more? Was it I think Heaven or Gold?
Uh, Gold was the first one, right?
That's the second one. What was the
Second,
second
oh,
one?
Heaven,
First
then,
one's Heaven.
yeah. Like, I haven't listened to the second one as much, but so far, I definitely think the first one I've listened to a lot, and even when I listened to Heaven, I liked it a lot. But like the first one, I was just like, it already had that like, you start hearing a couple piano keys, and you're like,
Excuse
let
me.
me drink some tea and get ready to cry a little bit, and like just like I'm such a huge Cleo Soul fan. Mother's maybe my favorite album of the last like 5 years. I'm talking about like
Same.
everything.
Yeah, same.
Like and I don't even know how. I'm not a mom. I don't relate to some of that anyway at all. But like it was just so good. And so yeah, like that first one, I still want to listen to the second one a little bit more. But I definitely think the first one is the one I really. That's gonna be my most played music probably this whole year.
Definitely. And now get into our last review with Wale's Max Julian. In this new single, it had a mellow vibe to it and a soulful beat. He delves into topics such as severing ties with friends and embracing his authenticity. And it's interesting because Wale, he's him making a comeback. It's been a couple of years since he put out a new project. To you, Kevin, what did you think about this single and kind of like what you're looking for with this next album?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I really liked it a lot. It reminded me kind of like the Gifted era where he did have some of those like gospel samples and musical sample type sounds. I enjoyed it. I mean, as a single from him, I don't think of it as a single
It's
like
not a
how other
single
artists
song.
put out a single. I'm just kind of wanting to catch like what are you maybe doing, and if you're just doing some stuff you've done and I kind of enjoy it, then I'm cool with it. I generally like most of his projects. I think only one. I think it was Shine in like 2017. That's like the only one I just legit was just like I didn't really like. The rest of them, even if they're not great, they're pretty good. I like them. So yeah, that's kind of
Definitely.
my thoughts over that.
Savon, I know Wale is one of your favorites. I think top five. He's already doing the shaking the head. He texted me Friday, said, "Bro, it's just a single. It's not a
What?
full album." Uh, man, what were you disappointed about?
This wasn't a single song. I think this was him just crying. And I think J. Cole already told you, bro, you don't have to keep talking about this. You are a great rapper. You're one of the best poets since freaking Slick Rick. Bro, you are solidified. Make some good songs, bro. Like, I was so ready for him to be like, and I'm turning on and like, bro, why you crying? Why is you crying? Give us Wale, bro. Give us the poet. Girls on drugs.
Oh man, that's
Bro,
like the most.
Mm,
Oh man,
yeah.
you have been gone for so long and you give us a song of you crying and complaining. Bro, give us,
I'm gonna be
bro.
honest. I didn't even listen.
Bro,
Listen, I just thought the music sounded good, so I
That's
was
the
just
thing.
go
It
very,
back and
sounded
listen
good
to
to
that
me.
track,
I
bro.
need to listen to it more.
Bro,
yeah.
Yachted, bro, he was he was complaining so much
Oh,
in that
that
track.
don't surprise me at all, though.
I'm like,
Like,
Yeah.
I get the kernel of it because while they should be mentioned with a lot more people, like, um, he's just not likable. But it's generally because of the complaining.
bro, he's
Like,
definitely likable. I won't say
no,
that.
I'm
Wale
not.
is
No,
definitely
listen,
likable. For
listen.
Lauren, come on, bro.
If he was like no, like if he was likable the way say a Chance the Rapper, he has way better music overall than Chance the Rapper, for example. Now I love two of Chance the Rapper's albums,
Then he fell off.
but Wale has a lot
Chance
more
didn't
music
have
that's good.
longevity. Wale
I
has
agree.
longevity.
I agree.
He's a poet.
And makes similar music too. But like think about it, even like the musicality. No. I'm talking about the music like how Chance like uses instrumental stuff, horns, piano, uses that kind of
Got that
sound.
gospel feel. It's
Like
got that gospel
Wale's
quality.
ear is like super underrated when it comes to all that stuff. Like he's way more musical than people give him credit for. Like I no, I love Wale. Like I think Wale's great. But I'm just saying in general, I think that's why he's not as big because in general, I think people find it just kind of a little annoying when he's
I
just,
don't know
you
about
know.
that, brother.
I like him. I'm not saying me. I like him. I'm just saying
He got it, man.
others.
Wale's solidified,
Wale
bro.
or Big Sean? Wale or Big Sean?
Wale.
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 Big Sean's
Yeah,
albums are don't translate. He's a
He
great
has
feature
moments. He has
artist.
great moments.
He just
Yeah.
he
don't
does have good
translate to his
moments.
Yeah.
albums, bro.
For sure.
He doesn't have
I
Yeah.
like
concepts.
Detroit
He's
too.
just
Detroit 2 was good, but he hasn't. It's not a
yeah.
lot of. It's not a lot of good albums he's put out. So definitely. We're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back with our Killers of the Flower Moon review.